All right, hello everyone, and we are on another episode of me thinking I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to learn real quick that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try to teach you what I know. I'm going to put this out there right out the gate. There is a chance that what I explain or the information I provide may be either somewhat incorrect or possibly even entirely incorrect. It could be wrong. Some of what I do may not be the most proper method, but still gets the job done. This is a video I am trying to put out there to explain what I currently know. And it doesn't mean it's correct. So please understand that. What I would really highly recommend is if you're just coming to this video for the first time, look at the bottom in the comments, or I'm sorry, in the description, and I will update the description if there's any changes. I will try to put the date that I make the change and the timestamp that references what I'm correct and the information I'm providing along with the video at the same time, so I do not have to redo the whole video. If and when I get enough changes that I need to make, or if I need to change something very serious, I will upload a new video when I can. So again, please check the description. The first thing you do when you pull this video up and see if there's any corrections I'm trying to make, so that way you know that ahead of time when you get to that point in the video. So the second thing I want to say is that this is not a how to use Blender. This is not a how to texture an object. This really isn't even how to make an object. This is simply going to be how to take a basic cube or square structure and get it set up in the most basic format to go into the workbench for ARMA Reforger. Hopefully what you can do is learn what you, take what you learn from here and apply it to either a structure you already currently have made, or when you learn how to make a structure, you can apply this to that. Initially, what I was going to do was take a structure that's already made and just add the portals, the BSP, and the BOXVOLs, and whatever else we need, the collider and all that kind of jazz. But it doesn't cover some of the basics that I've learned as far as when you're building the structure, what you can do to make life that little bit easier. So bear with me as we get through this video. I hope that it does help you. And if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments. The best thing to go is to the proper Discord channels for Reforger and ask in there. You're going to probably ask me some questions. I'm probably not going to be able to answer them. Most of my knowledge, if not all of it, is going to be described in this video. So please understand that this is my current knowledge of what needs to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get started on this video. So what we first need to do is we need to add the Enfusion Tools add-on into Blender. It's just very simple. Again, this is not a how to use Blender video, but I will go over a couple of the very basic things that will hopefully get you by to get in this tutorial. Please look at other Blender tutorials if you need to learn some of the stuff that I'm doing. It's pretty basic, but look at some basic Blender videos to learn some of the things. So the first step we're going to do is go to Steam, right click on Tools, go to Properties, and then go to Installed Files, and then Browse. And you should have this pop up here. Notice how there is a Blender folder. We're going to open that up. And do not open anything here. We're going to go into Blender. And we're going to go to Edit, Preferences, go back to your folder. And then you're going to click and drag the plugin. Now, I am not going to do that completed. It's going to bring you a pop-up. Just accept or hit OK on the pop-up. Once that's done, the next thing I suggest is go into System and then go down to Undo Steps and change this to max, which is 256. Trust me, may come a time where you need to undo 256 steps. So give yourself as much room as you can, okay? The other thing is the cycles render devices. If you have an AMD card like I do, I believe the only one you can use is this one. And to the best of my knowledge, you want to use your graphics card. Unless your graphics card is very, very outdated and your processor is significantly better, you may try your processor, but to the best of my knowledge, in any case, you want to use your graphics card and graphics card only. Do not do graphics card and a processor, just this, okay? If you have a NVIDIA card, I'm not sure which of these are best. I believe CUDA and optics are what people say, but you will have to do that own research on your own. So go and hit X, and you should be able to go to File, New, General, and I'm not sure, usually there's a cube that pops up over here. Nonetheless, go ahead and delete everything over here until the point where you're at Scene Collection and Collection. And ignore what was over there. If you don't see this list here, there is probably a little arrow pointing left. If you click on that, there it is. If you click on that, it'll open it up, or the letter N on the keyboard. N as in Nora. All right. And you should see Enfusion Tools here. So if you click on that, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and save our project. And I'm going to change it to wherever you want to change it to. I'm just going to do a new folder for tutorials. And I'm going to name this basic and name it whatever you want. All right. So let's go ahead and make sure everything's saved. We're going to exit. We're going to go back to Blender. And if this pops up, just kind of click off to the side. Again, you're going to see certain pop-ups I have. They're for other add-ons that I have. And then go to here. And let's just make sure our Enfusion Tools is there. And then I'll show you mine just so you see it. All right. I don't think I changed any of this. You shouldn't have to. All right. So to go ahead and get started, like I said, on the right here, when you made a new scene, or I'm sorry, a new project, it probably had a cube with some items here. Delete everything, and we're going to restart over. So there are different tabs up here, and you're going to see different ones because, again, I have different add-ons. So we have our Layout tab and our Modeling tab, and that is where we're going to be spending most of our time. We have an Object mode, and then you will see once we get an object in here, we're going to have a Edit mode. All right, I'm going to be cutting this part in. I downloaded a keystroke visualizer so you could see what buttons I'm pressing to kind of help learn some of what the shortcuts are. I'll try to voice them as well. So we're going to be in the Layout tab, and we're going to be in Object mode, which is our only mode right now. Going to hold Shift, and you're going to hit A, and we're going to add a mesh, and we're going to add a cube. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn on snapping, this here, and we're going to hit G, and this moves the object. And then we're going to move it up. Now, if we were to hit Z, it would let us only move it on the z-axis. If we hit X, it'll let us move it only on the x-axis. We hit Y, it only on the y-axis. So we're going to go back to Z, and we're going to move it to where it's going to snap there. And this is important because this dot right here is going to be what makes the dot, the center dot, in the object for the workbench. So what we're going to do now is we are going to form the outside of our very basic structure. Again, this is literally it. This is our structure here, pretty much. We're just going to make it a little bit bigger so we have some more room to work with. So what we're going to do is we can now go into edit mode. Edit mode can be switched from object to edit with the tab key. Sometimes you have to click in the viewport. All right, we hit tab and we go from one to the other. Each mode will do different things. It'll allow you to do different things. So in here, we are going to select faces. We are going to select this face. We're going to hit G and then Y. So we are moving it only on the Y axis. And we're going to move it out a couple cubes here. Another way we can do this, if we go to item, I'm sorry, hold on. Where's it at? View. There we go. I believe it's in view. Nope, stand by. You have to be in object mode, item. There we go. I'm still learning some of this, so I apologize. So in object mode, you can change the dimensions directly in here, and we're going to be doing this later on. So let's go 6 by 6, and then we are going to center it up a little bit more. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to leave it right there. And let's go and turn snapping off. So now, how tall do we want this this cube to be? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at what Bohemia has given us for environmental metrics, meaning floors and walls, the doors, the windows. They're what they use as parameters for sizes. So they say that a foundation should be these sizes, floors and walls should be this thick, the ceiling height, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're going to look at is a door, because the ceiling needs to be a little bit higher than the door. So what we're going to look at is the door height of 237 centimeters, which would be the height of 2.37 meters. So if we go back to Blender and we change the size of this cube, where is it at? Dimensions. It's Z, because again, Z is up and down, to 2.37. Notice how it brings it down here. All right, so we are going to get this to where it is above. I'm going to undo that. Let's see if we can get snapping back on. Nope, that's going to bring it there. Set back to flat. All right, we're going to do this a different way. Again, I'm still learning this. I apologize. We are going to go ahead and go into edit mode. We're going to go to face, grab this face, just click on it, hit G to move, Z to bring up, and we're just going to bring it that high. We'll worry about the door size a little later on. All right. So we have our very basic cube here. And on the inside, it is going to be hollow. We are now going to turn on to where we can see what's called face orientation. Face orientation is going to show you essentially the inside and the outside of a wall. So our inside is going to be red, and the outside we want to be white. So make sure your whole cube matches that. Okay. All right. So we have our exterior walls, and we are now going to make the inside of this structure. Again, this is probably a very long way to do this, but this is probably the easiest structure I know how to make to get the point across of what we're going to be doing. So in layout, we're going to go to object mode. We're going to click on our cube, and we're going to hold shift and then hit the letter D. And if you move the object around, you can see we are now controlling where this object is. If you right click, it will snap it back to where it was initially duplicated at. Or you can hit escape. You will see there is now a cube.001 on the right hand side here. We are going to resize this cube to be a little bit smaller so we can hollow out the initial cube we made so we have an interior space. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. The first way is by hitting S on the keyboard, and we can manually shrink it with the mouse, or we can type in a value. I'm going to hit escape, or we can type in a value that you see that would come up here. So I'm going to hit it again. I'm going to hit S again, and we can see what our values are. And this is off of 100%. So this is over 100%. This is, what would that be? 100, 110%, 120%, so on and so on. And this is the decimal percent, making it smaller by those numbers. So we're going to go just to 0.85. And let's zoom in and let's see what this gives us. All right, we're going to have over here, we could have a different viewport. That's going to be some pretty thick walls. So let's go ahead and let's undo that. So hit Control Z, select your object again, hit S, and let's go to 0.9. Let's try a 0.95. All right. That's actually pretty decent. So we're going to go back to our other viewport up here. All right. Now what we're going to do is, this is our outside walls, and these are our interior walls. We are going to do what's called adding a boolean. Essentially, we're going to cut the smaller cube out of the bigger cube. And how we do that is in layout, in object mode, go to cube, go to modifiers, it's this wrench, and hit add modifier, generate boolean. In this, we are going to go here, and we're going to tell it to take out the smaller cube from the space of the bigger cube. And we are going to apply that. And if we now hide our smaller cube and we scroll in, we can see we now have our faces. The red is on the inside here, and the white is on the outside. I'm sorry, on the inside of the room, and that's what we're wanting. Okay, so we have our very basic cube house structure now. Okay, if you're following what I'm doing with the keystrokes down here, we are holding Shift, and we are using the middle mouse button pushed down to be able to move around. So our next step on what we're going to do is add the cubes to make in our doorways and our windows. We're going to do one door, and we're going to do two windows. All right. So before we start doing that, I like to try to stay somewhat organized at least. So we're going to come up to Scene Collection. We're going to right click and hit New Collection. And we are going to name this, doesn't need to be this exact, it doesn't matter. I like to name it A_booleans. So that way I know that these are objects that I am using for the boolean effect. So we're actually going to click and drag our other cube into that because we are actually going to be essentially disabling this collection later on, and you'll see why shortly. So come back to this cube and go to wireframe. And again, we're just looking to see the thickness. This there's a way to get the thickness exactly how you want it. I don't fully know how to do that yet. This is enough to kind of just get us by right now. So we have a floor, we have a ceiling, and we'll have our interior walls, our exterior walls, and what will be a flat roof. All right. So we are back in the layout tab. We're in object mode. We're going to go back to, that doesn't matter which one really, just one of those two. And we are going to add another cube. So hold Shift, hit A, go to Mesh, go to Cube, and it should have added another cube on this list here. If it made it in the booleans, that's perfect. That's where we want it. If it's in the first collection we made, then go ahead and click and drag it up here. And your numbers may be a little bit off. It's fine. Let's go ahead and let's save. I'm not sure why it's asking us to rename it again, but oh, because I closed it. All right. So there we go. And go ahead and save it. So we've got this cube here, and this first cube is going to be our door. So let's go ahead and click on it, hit F2 to rename, and we're going to name it 4BSP door. It doesn't matter what you name it. You do not have to. This is so later on you know what object you're going to use for the booleans here in a little bit. Okay. Do not just name it BSP_door because that's going to mess you up later on. You need to have a prefix before BSP if that's what you're going to use, like I used here. So what we want to do is we want to make this cube become the space that'll make the hole for the doorway. So we're going to go back to our environment metrics, and we're going to look at the door, and it's going to be the width. They say it should be 125 centimeters by 237 centimeters. So 125 and 237. So if we click on our BSP cube, hit G, and then it doesn't matter which direction you drag it. I'm going to drag it on the y-axis, and we're just getting it out of that room there. And then if you have snapping turned on, let's go and turn snapping off. We don't need that right now. So we're just going to drag it up. So G and then Z. And we're just going to get it roughly right there. It doesn't need to be perfect yet. And I have completely forgotten our numbers. 125 and 237. So 1.25 by 1. Got some fat fingers. 5, and my memory is horrible. 237. 2.37. Okay, and that is going to be our doorway. And man, I really hope that cube is the right size. We're going to learn today. So we are going to now drag this cube over into this object. So hit G, hit Y, and bring it to kind of roughly right there. And let's see. All right, it's going into the floor. That's not what we want. So hit G, hit Z. We want it just right above where it's going to make contact with that floor. Now keep in mind, you don't want to visualize off of this, all right? You want to visualize off of what is the interior floor. And we can also go into wire view, and you can use your numpad to go to different straight angles here. So if we look, we are just above that floor, and we actually want to get a little bit closer. Doesn't have to be exact, especially for this tutorial. All right. So we have more than enough room on the interior. We are actually going to move this out a little bit more, and you'll see why shortly. So hit G, and we are on the y-axis, so hit Y, and right about there is what we want. All right. So that is going to be our doorway. And then we can do a couple different things. We can duplicate this, or we can just add a new cube. I'm going to show you the duplicate way of doing it, just because we already have that object here. It's already named, so we don't have to do a complete name change. And it's already on track of where we want it, because we're going to put a couple windows here. All right. So we're going to, in layout object mode with your item selected, we're going to hold shift, hit D. We're going to hit Y, and we're going to move it on that Y axis and get it to where it's roughly wherever you want. It doesn't have to be center. This is just a tutorial. We're not going to make this aesthetically pleasing. So we're going to zoom in. All right. And we can leave it here. And now we're going to go back to our tutorial, and we are going to find the width of a window that we want. So I'm going to actually go ahead and open up the workbench, and I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to skip the part of me opening it. So what I would recommend is, if you're going to use vanilla assets, look at what the vanilla asset is. And what I mean by that is, like, if you really like this particular window here, sometimes you have to turn on and off, select parent, select a window, and it'll tell you right here which one it is. If you hit the letter P on it, it brings you to the main prefab. It doesn't bring you to that actual window. So I'm going to use this window size as a reference for how big I want my windows for this tutorial to be. So what I'm going to do is go off of what it says here. I'm assuming that the 130 by 142 matches the 130 by 142 right here. Okay, this one right here. So it makes sense, right? So we're going to notate this for later on, that we want this one. I'm going to actually type it in here, WinFarm 130, 142. And then there is actually a couple different versions of it here. Do not use XOB files. As a side note, do not use XOB files. Only use them when you really know what you're doing. They're not set up properly, and you'll see why here shortly, actually, because that's what we're going to be making. We're going to be making an XOB file. So make sure it's this darker blue. The suffix is ET, or even the purple ones if there's a purple one. But Reforger uses the blue version, and that's all that there is right now. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this, so that way I know that's the one I want later. Actually, I'm going to take a bigger screenshot. All right. So our window size, so this way we can use this vanilla asset, is 130 by 142. And let's go back to Blender. 130 by 142. So 1.3, 1.42. I keep hitting enter by accident, sorry. 130 by 142. So did we use the right things here? So the height is the Z, and let's just make both of these the same. So this way we can move it where we want it. So hit G. I'm sorry. We want to be layout, object mode, hit G. We want to move on the x-axis, and we're going to move it as close as we can to that. And we're going to rename it. This would be window 01. All right. So you do want it protruding a little bit. Again, you'll be seeing why here very shortly. And where is our reference point? So windows, minimum distance from floor. They're saying for a large window, it should be at least 99 centimeters off the floor. I don't know the best proper way to do that, to be quite honest. What I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate this again. Hit Z to bring it down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this object as a reference point for that. So the height, the distance off floor is going to be height, which is the Z. And we're going to do 0.99. And we're going to bring this to where it just touches the floor. This does not have to be perfect. Please don't think you get to make this perfect. We're going to go back to this window, G and then Z. And they're saying for a large window such as that, it should be, again, large window, 99 centimeters off the ground. This is 99 centimeters, and they are roughly touching. Again, does not need to be perfect. So because that was our reference point, we can actually just hide that again for right now. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make this window a duplicate again, and we're going to make it come up on the right side. So again, layout, object mode, hold shift, D, x-axis, and bring it over. And bring it over to where we are just about to make it leave that room. All right. So we're going to name this one BSP, or for BSP window 02. I don't know why. You know, let's just name this window height. That way it goes underneath that. There we go. That way we know what that was. We're going to probably delete that later, to be quite honest. So go and save. And we now have our basic cube. Let's go and just rename that so we know ASIC ARMA Cube 01. We'll name it whatever you want to name it. It doesn't matter right now. So we have our boolean. We have our for door and the two windows. These are hidden. Doesn't matter about those. And what we're going to do now is go to our set up our box volume and set up our BSP. And these are, the box volume is pretty easy. The BSP is tends to be what gives me trouble. After the BSP, we should be setting up our portals and all that. So bear with me if I go off tangent on that, but that is what we're going to be starting to tackle here very shortly. All right, so we are going to set up our what's called a BOXVOL. It is a volume that the system recognizes that I have no clue what it uses to recognize. However, we are going to set it up. It's actually pretty easy. In this tutorial, we have kind of already set up a box volume. This first cube that we use to make our interior, right? Let me hide all this stuff. I'm going to unhide that, and I'm going to unhide that. So we already kind of have our interior room set up. usually any structure or build, and especially a home you have, is not going to be this easy to set up. It's just not going to be right there for you already. So something I learned through another piece of information I gathered, looking through a bunch of stuff, trying to figure this all out, was you can select the interior faces and kind of make them their own object. You can make a brand new cube like we've already done before and use it as a BOXVOL. It's kind of whatever is easiest in the situation, but the BOXVOL is going to make the system recognize that essentially as a room, as a open space within the structure. Now, with BOXVOL, I believe, and I may be wrong on this, if let's just say you have a house, right? I'm in the USA. If let's just say you have a basic 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and there's a living room. Each bedroom would have its own BOXVOL, so you would have 3 there, and the bathrooms, the 2 bathrooms, would have their own BOXVOL. So there's another 2, so we're at 5. And then the living room would have its own BOXVOL. So there's 6, and probably even the kitchen, depending on the way it is. Pretty much when there's a entryway into that room, I believe it needs its own BOXVOL. I may be wrong, and if I am wrong on that, please correct me. But I'm fairly certain in that. And that is one of the things I will correct in the comment section. I'm sorry, the description is if you need a BOXVOL for every room that has an entryway into it, meaning you are walking through like a doorway or something like that. This cube here only has 1 room, so all we need is 1 BOXVOL. So I'm going to show you the easiest way I know if we didn't have this cube already. So I'm going to turn that off to do this. So we're going to turn everything back on, most everything else back on. Or actually, hold on. All we want right now is our home structure, right? This is going to be a house we're making. So you can have this other stuff on. It's not a big deal right now, but just so we can see what we're doing, this is what we're going to be selecting here, okay? So we're going to be in layout. We're going to be in object mode. I'm sorry, we're going to be in edit mode. And we have 3 different options we can choose from. We can choose by vertices, which are the dots. All right. We can go by edges, which are these lines here. Or we can go by face, which is the actual wall of the object. So if we hold down Shift and we select all of our faces, we should have them all selected, and we do Shift D, we have now duplicated those faces. So you can see it as you move around. Right click on your keyboard. Do not press anything else. On your keyboard, you're going to hit the letter P, and you're going to separate by selection. You will see that you now have a duplicated object here on the right-hand side that popped up. Now watch, if you click on it, it does not actually make it the proper one. This box that's around this triangle means that is actually what is selected. Okay, that is, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, like myself, if you don't properly select the item. Just because it's blue doesn't mean it's selected. You want to go back into object mode. Now select the item you just duplicated. So you should have this new cube with a triangle and a box around it. Come back to the viewport, right click, EBT objects, edit, Enfusion, what was that, Enfusion, maybe Enfusion Bench Tools, EBT objects, and you're going to come down to box volume. And it's going to rename it. If we want to see what it looks like, this is what it looks like. Now, this is not good. These are the red faces are on the outside. We want these on the inside. All right. So what we're going to do, is we are going to select this object. We're going to be in layout object mode. Alt N. Oh, I'm sorry. That was wrong. We might need to be in edit mode. I'm sorry. There we go. Edit mode. With that selected, I apologize. That was wrong. We're going to be in edit mode and on faces. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to reselect all these faces. And again, there's probably an easier way to do this, but this is just what I know. All right. All of our faces are selected. Hit Alt N and then flip. And that should flip all the faces orientations on the inside. If you're not seeing this, you might have missed a step where we went to overlays and face orientation. You want face orientation checked on. There's also possibly another way you can do this where I'm gonna don't do this, but I'm gonna undo what I did. So if you what we possibly could have done with everything else hidden with this object selected is done A to select all the faces, Alt N, and then calculate outside. Or you could have chose flip again. So those are a couple different ways you could have done it. But either way, this is where we should be at, where this item's the faces are on the outside. All right. We're going to save. Now, if you have a very square or rectangular structure, this is very easy. But if you have a structure that is L-shaped or T-shaped, or just has more of a shape to it, more of a poly shape to it, this next step is going to be a bit harder for you. And this is setting up the BSP. So the BSP is going to be what helps make your portals and sound. I'm sorry, I'm going to backtrack. The portals for light and tell them the AI where to go, from what I understand, and the sound inside the building. If you do not have your BSP and your portals set up correctly, then sound will not behave properly inside the structure. The easiest way to say it, if you shoot a gun outside, it's going to have a distant sound to it. It's going to continue kind of echoing as it goes on. It's going to have just going to sound different, right? You shoot a gun inside a building, it's going to have a little bit more of a confined space sound to it, right? Maybe muffled. Muffled may not be the proper term to it, but the sound's going to be confined to a smaller area, so it's going to be different. If you want to know what I'm talking about, load up ARMA, find a vanilla asset, meaning a building like this one, and this is the right one, right? Yep. And then shoot one of your guns outside, and then go inside and see what it sounds like, and I'll show you. And hopefully it comes through properly. So, right, there's a continued echo of the sounds, whereas if you go inside the structure, it's a little bit more muffled, right? And that's going to happen all throughout the structure. Right? That's enough of that. So a structure that is set up properly with BSP is going to have that difference in sound. So the BSP for this structure is going to be fairly easy to do, hopefully, because it's a very basic square shape. So there's a few different ways you can do this. You can make a brand new cube and physically place the cube edges around where you want it. You could do what we just did, where we choose the faces and we take those faces and make a BSP out of it. There's a couple different ways you can do it, and I'm sure there's more than what I know to do. What I have found easiest is if we go back into our, where's it at? I'm going to hide this right now. We go back into our structure here. So for this basic cube, our BSP is going to pretty much be this exact item. But keep in mind, again, this is a very basic item, okay? Kind of bear with me as I show you this. So our BSP is going to be mostly square or rectangular, okay? That's what you want it to be. The reason it's going to be so easy on that is because it's square. Now, if we look at a structure like this, let me see what I need to get rid of real quick. We need that. Just kind of bear with me. Okay, this structure here, it's still a cube, right? It still has this feature, but we can't just duplicate this item and make it into a BSP. All right, we want to choose the interior walls and the floor, the ceiling, and we're going to be choosing the exterior walls too to make this BSP. And I hope that makes sense here in a second. But because it's a cube in our other one, it's going to look like it's so easy when it's not difficult once you learn it. And I'm overcomplicating it at this point, but just kind of bear with me. All right, you'll see. This is what a typical structure is going to look like for the most part. So the BSP is not going to follow the exact same shape. It's going to be a square or rectangular version of it that is going to be a bit smaller than the actual object. All right. So now that I probably just confused you even more, let's get back to what we're doing. So we have our volumetric box hidden. I'm actually going to rehide it and close it. And then where are we at? Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Setting up the BSP. So to set up the BSP, we are going to kind of do the same thing we did as with the volumetric box. So you are going to go along the exterior of your building, your structure, and you are going to be in edit mode on face, and you're going to choose the most outside, or I'm sorry, the walls at the most exterior part of your structure, but on the inside, and if that makes any sense. And we're going to do the same thing as we did before, and we're going to hold Shift, we're going to hit D, which means we duplicated it, right click, hit P, hit selection, and we now have our own object again, just like we did with the BOXVOL. All right, so we are going to go into object mode. Again, make sure this item is selected. And it's got the triangle, which shows that it's a mesh object with the square around it. And we are going to duplicate that again. Hold Shift, hit D, right click, and then it should snap it back in place. So go ahead and hide this, right? Because that's the big structure. So we're going to hide those two. So this is the item we just made. And, right. Yes. So it's that one. I apologize. I'm confusing myself at this point. So for the BSP, we want kind of like we did before. We need our interior walls, and we're going to have exterior walls. So with the exterior, we're going to make these a bit bigger than what the interior is. All right. We are going to change these faces because we always want red on the inside. We want red facing the inside if it's a hollow object. And then if we're on the inside interior, like interior walls, the red's going to be facing red. All right. So with this object selected, I'll go to edit mode, hit A, and then Alt N, and reevaluate outside. And there we go. And then we're going to make these outside walls a bit bigger than what our actual main cube is. So again, bear with me here, okay? So we're going to be in edit mode in face. We're going to select the face. We're now going to unhide the main cube. We're going to hit G, then Y, and we're going to bring that face out just a little bit past what the structure is. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to now hide this again, select that face, unhide that object, hit G. We're going to be on the X-axis now. Bring it out. We're going to hide that. Select this face. Actually, the Y-axis. All right. And we are simply moving this cube outwards. Oh. All right. Now all of our sides are good. Now we need to do the same thing with the bottom. But if you notice, we don't have a bottom face here. So we're going to make one. So turn the house off. Go to the edges. Select this edge. Hold Shift. Select that edge. Right click. And new face from edge. Or it'll tell you the shortcut. You can hit the letter F on the keyboard. That made that one. And we're going to do the same thing with our top here. And then shortcut F, and there we go. So now we have our hollowed out cube. So we still need to make this face come down a little bit. So go back to face, select the bottom, show our main structure, G, Z, and we'll bring it down a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing with the top. Excuse me. G and then Z. And there we go. So this is going to be the outside of our BSP. But we now need the inside. We now need the interior walls. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide this. And we're going to hide that. And we're going to show our interior side here. Now this red is fine right now because this is going to be the interior part of the BSP. And I really do hope I'm not confusing you. So we need to make this inside the walls just a little bit more. Kind of like what we were doing just a minute ago, but we're going to go inside instead of going outside of the structure. So edit mode, face. Oh, see, look what happens. I told you it's going to happen. We are still chosen on this. Let's go to object mode. Choose that one. Go back to edit. And now you can select your face. So go and show that. We're going to need to go inside this object a little bit. G and then Y. Now notice how if we go to the right, it disappears. We want to be just inside that. All right. Oh, X. I'm sorry, I forgot to say something. we are currently selected on this. So these walls are close enough to each other where it'll let us select this face behind this wall. So I'm able to select this wall even with this object still showing. But later on, when you're making your own object or a more complex object, you probably won't be able to select it that easily. So let's keep in the routine of what I was doing. So we're going to turn off that. We're going to select our face, which is already selected. Reshow that wall. Hit G and then X, because that's the axis we're on. Bring it into where we're just not going through that. All right. So hide that, grab that, reshow that. We're back on the y-axis. And we're almost done with this, I should say. All right. And if you notice, we don't have a floor or a ceiling. So same idea. Go to edges, select these two edges, hit F, and then go and grab that face with face selected, grab it, show the cube, go inside the cube, bring this up, G and then Z. All right, there. And you know it's the right one when it's colored like that. Excuse me. Go back to edge mode, select these, F. Oh, I'm sorry. This is still selected, so let's make sure we're grabbing the right edges. All right, we did. Hit F. And then go to face, select the face, turn the main structure back on, hit G and then Z. Again, if you go up, you're going to be seeing the ceiling. We don't want to see that ceiling, so we want to see the face we have selected. And there we go. All right. And then go into object mode. You can hit Tab. And we should have our interior part of our USB again and our exterior part of our USB again. Oh, it's hidden so we can't see it. So this is obviously, this was made more complicated than it could have been for this basic object, but I didn't want it to give the impression setting up a BSP is the easiest thing ever done. It does take a little bit of fine-tuning to get it set up properly, and I'm not even guaranteeing this is set up properly. We may come to find out there's a little bit of more fine-tuning we got to do. All right. So we now want to tell this exterior to boolean this smaller interior. So we're going to add a modifier. We're going to be in object mode. We're going to add modifier, boolean, and it's going to be called that. That's what we're looking for. And then we're going to apply it, and then take this and move it up to booleans, and then go and hide it. All right. So if we turn that off, what happened? Why did it not? I'm going to undo a couple things. Bear with me. Turn that off. I apologize about this, but this shows you some of the troubleshooting stuff. So why did that not work? So that, oh, you know what? I think I know what's wrong. I apologize. These faces do need to be inward, set up properly. I apologize. So let's select that. Make sure we're in layout object mode. select that, make sure it's got the square around it, and then go to Edit, select a viewport, hit A, Alt-N, and recalculate outside. I do apologize. That is probably what caused that problem. So let's go ahead and, yep, see, there we go. I'm not selecting it properly. If you make sure you're in object mode when you're trying to switch between objects. So let's go ahead and apply. Let's move this, let's hide it, move it back up to booleans, and let's go into our object. There we go. That's better. That's what we want. All right. So we pretty much have this basic cube we've already made. It's just a little bit bigger on the outside and just a hair bigger on the inside. And we are going to formally make this our BSP now. So with layout, object mode, that selected, we're going to right click and BSP geometry. And we can even rename this that you can name it BSP underscore whatever. The key thing here is begins with BSP underscore. All right. So we've got our, just to recap, we've got a bit more to do still. Where is it at? We have our booleans, which we're going to use to make the holes in these objects. And then from there, we're going to set up our portals and our sockets, I should say, too. So we have our BSP, and we want our BSP and our main structure to take into account these doors and windows. So we're going to do these Boolean modifiers. Excuse me. In object mode, this is our main structure here. So let's add these Booleans to our main structure now. So generate Boolean. And then you can either click on this and do duplicate, or you can do Shift D, like we've done before to duplicate. We only need 3. We only need 3 Booleans because we're going to have 1 door and 2 windows. So we're going to tell it what object to take into account. And this is why I named it what I did, because it shows up right at the top of the list. And I know that this is the Boolean for the door. This is for window 1, and that is for window 2. Keeps it easy. And then we're going to do the same thing with the BSP. And Shift D, and Shift D. Door, window 1, and window 2. Now, it looks like it didn't cut all the way through, right? It did. What's happened is our BOXVOL is not showing it properly. All right, so there is what we've made so far. We've got, sorry, just going through a little bit of an internal checklist. We do not need to apply these. I do want to say that. There's a setting on export that will apply these at that point. And the good thing about that is, let's just say this window, right? This window 1. Let's just say that window, and notice how it's showing the full cube now too, all right? Let's say that window I want to move, why did it not? There we go. Let's just say I want to move it here later on. I get it in the world. I'm like, you know what? I don't want it to be lined up properly. I want to move it a little bit. All I have to do is move the window. I don't need to recut it. I don't need to reapply the Boolean. I don't need to do any of that nonsense. I can move the window or whatever it is, higher, lower, left, right, whatever the case is, and then it's just going to automatically apply it later on. So I'm going to undo that because I don't want that there. I'm just going to leave it here. All right. And then I'm not sure what's happening here. What is... It's the BSP? Okay, it must be the overlays from the BSP in this main structure. All right, so I go and rehide that boolean, and go and save. We haven't saved in a while. I should have known better than that. All right, we are now going to set up our portals. What I want to verify is that these have the volumes, or I'm sorry, the materials, which it does. It's very important these have these materials on them, and they do. Okay. So to set up our portals, and what a portal is from what I understand, it affects the way the light comes into the structure, and someone told me that it also tells the AI where a doorway is. I can't confirm that, but I'm going off what I was told. So portals are very easy to make, but they may be hard to have placed properly. So we're going to start with what's called a socket. A socket is what's going to be generating the portal. So if you right click, you're going to be in layout object mode. If you right click, go to the EBT objects and hit socket. Selected object is not empty. Oh, maybe because I had it selected. Try it again. No selected objects. All right, for whatever reason, I said it was super easy to do, and of course I jinxed myself, and here we are where it's not working like I know how to work. So we're going to do a little bit of a different method. We're going to go to add empty lane access. I'm not sure why we have to do it that way right now, but that's what we're going to work with. So it's going to spawn this little thing here in the middle. Hit G, Z to bring it up, and you're going to see it's going to be looking like that. So we're going to start with renaming it. Hit F2 on the object, and again, I'm going to backtrack. Make sure you're in layout object mode. You select it and hit F2, and you're going to rename it socket underscore door underscore exterior. And then hit G and then Y to bring it forward and get it. From what I understand, it's pretty important to have these as close to in the center you can. And you want to make sure it's in the center of the main object. So let's turn off this BSP. You can see how we thought it was there, but it's not. And then that's our main box there. The BOXVOL is there. Okay. So with this reselected, hit G and then Y and get it as close to center as you can. I'm not going to worry about it being exact for me right now because this is just a tutorial, but you want it to be as close for a door, as close to the level of the ground you can, from what I understand, and in the center. So it's low to the ground and a center. And then we are going to select it again. We're going to duplicate it, Control D, hit Y to move it on the Y axis and bring it over. We went too far, so G, Y again. And then G, X to bring it on the X axis. Bring it through, but bring it back a little bit. G and then Z. And we're kind of just going to try to center this a bit. Maybe we can get into one of these side views. My vision may be a hair off. There we go. Let's see how that looks. That looks good enough for right now. Good enough for government work. All right. We're going to rename this socket underscore window 01. And you guessed it, we're going to duplicate it. X. Oh, I hit the wrong button. It's already duplicated, so G and then X to bring it over. G and X again. And its height and everything, because this mirror is pretty, or I'm sorry, this window is pretty much a mirror of where that window's at. We don't need to mess with the height or the left or right at all. It should be good. It's pretty close to the center. And there we go. All right, rename it. Or actually, I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to go and save. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to show you something. If you go to Object Tools, there is a fix suffixes, which means this here, but it will affect all of this. So watch what happens. It names things that are the way ARMA would like it to be named, with the suffixes. So I'm okay with what it changed up here. I'm okay that it changed that to what it did. I'm good with it. If you want to use that button too, use it. Otherwise, name it to what is named here, and then go ahead and save again. All right. So I should have already done the collider. I forgot to do that before I started the sockets and the portals, but I'm going to show you something. Do not do this, but I'm going to show you it. All right. Again, do not do this. With what I have right now, it is not going to generate the portals properly. And I want to show you what happens when it's not done properly. The reason this is not proper is because I have things hidden and I have things, let's just say this is unchecked. So if things are hidden and things are unchecked, in my experience, it will not generate the portals properly. And this is how you will know it did not properly happen. You do not need to select anything specific. Just hit generate portals. And it's going to say there is an error. There is no FireGeo or FireView collider. So I forgot to do the collider before we got to this point. I mentioned that a couple minutes ago. So we're not able to generate these portals without a collider. Setting up a collider, just one collider, is actually pretty easy. You are going to go to your main structure here, and with it selected, so layout object mode, with your main structure selected, you're going to hold shift, hit D. You see it's moving. Hit right click, it'll snap it back in place. Right click, collider. There's different colliders for different reasons. We want to use this one for right now. And it now set up a new colliders scene here, or I'm sorry, scene. With this selected, you can leave its name this if you want. We're going to go to collider setup, and now we have our game materials. So kind of self-explanatory on what these are. If what you're making has concrete, you would choose a concrete. If it's wood, you would choose wood. For this purpose, we're just going to leave it as default. That way, it's just whatever the default setting is, that's what it's going to be. It's layer preset. This is very important. Excuse me. If we only choose Bldner, it will not have the proper collision set up on it. It'll also not show a bullet hole. We want to choose Bldner Fire View. Now, I'm not sure exactly what fire and view means. I believe it's explained somewhere. I'll try to put a link to that in the description. I forgot to look that up before I did this video. But this is the one we want to use. And we're going to select it and then hit OK. And we now have a Bldner Fire View. And we can now generate our portals properly. What I want to say is that if, let's just say you have a house that has a foundation that is concrete, and then let's just say it is wood on the outside of the walls. Your wall is going to be all wood on the outside, like logs, right? You're going to need to be separating the the meshes as colliders. So you would have a collider that is one collider setup that is a concrete material, and you would have a different mesh that is set up with a collider to be the wood material. I've not done that myself yet. I've seen people do it. So it is possible to the best of my knowledge. But for this purpose, we are just sticking to the default material and the proper, what is that called? Layer preset. All right. So what I was trying to show you a few minutes ago with these sockets, I'm sorry, the portals, is what I'm showing you now. I had misspoke earlier. So if we have stuff that's hidden and stuff that's unchecked, and we hit generate portals, it's going to give us another type of error. It's going to look like it did something though, because it did. So watch, don't do this because this is not proper. We're going to hit generate portals. It does show us there is an error. And if you notice, it gives us this. This is not what we're looking for. Okay, do not use this. Also, do not undo. If you do Control Z, it's going to probably crash Blender. I've had it happen several times now. If you didn't save, let's say 5 minutes ago, and it crashes, you probably lost 5 minutes worth of progress. So we are going to right click and we're going to delete hierarchy. This is the proper way to do it now. So you need your sockets visible. Pretty much everything needs to be visible. For some reason, in the times I've been testing this, I cannot generate portals if something is hidden or unchecked. So now with everything clear, we're going to go and save, and we're going to generate portals. You do not need to have this stuff selected. All right. So generate portals. And now look what we get. We actually get our portals. All right. Leave these here. We're not going to mess with these anymore right now. We're going to go into the portal itself. And we're going to start with assigning them a material. So when these portals get imported into Enfusion, I believe there is only one doorway material. I'll show you. Just kind of bear with me for a second. It's going to be projection maps. I may be wrong in this, but it looks like there's only one door projection map. Whereas if we have a window, there are several projection maps. And you can kind of see what they do here. Okay. When you, excuse me, when you're setting up the material for the door, you kind of only have one option. So we're going to stick with that. So in object mode, select portal 1 because we know that to be our door. Now, if let's just say your door became portal 2, that's fine. Not a big deal, right? Let's just say you have your door over here. Whatever portal is your door, you're going to click on it, make sure it's selected with the box around it. Go to Material, New Material. And then we're going to rename this PRT MAT underscore door. And then portal 2, you are going to, again, we're going to make a new material. We're going to name this PRT MAT underscore window. Now, if you have, let's just say, large windows and small windows, you'll want to rename, apply the texture that will be a small window or a large window or a medium window, however you want to categorize. These two windows to me are the exact same, so I'm just going to name it this. But again, if I had a smaller window here, I would want to name it this, but underscore small. So that way I know I need to apply that window is going to have a different texture applied to it than the other two. And I hope that makes sense. So come over to your third window. Now notice how there's no material here. You do not want to make a brand new one. You want to choose what is already made from the previous window. So it applies that same window texture to both of these windows. Go ahead and save. And then we got the textures applied. All right. So if you look, this portal is not facing the right direction. And we need to orient our portals properly and size them properly. So I'm going to show you how to go and do that. So we're going to start by hiding some of the stuff again. We can actually, we should be able to uncheck this for right now. We don't want to see our BOXVOL, so we can uncheck that. We don't want to see our collider. We can uncheck that. And then we can leave our sockets there. Not a big deal. So all we should be seeing is our base structure and our portals and the sockets. So let's start with the door. This whole time I've been telling you that you want the red to be facing the inside of the structure, and we're going to contradict that. With these portals, you actually want the red to be facing outside. Okay, I know it's confusing, and I'm sorry if I'm confusing you, but it is what it is at this point. All right, so we also want these to be pretty much as center as possible, just like we did the sockets. Now, we got lucky that this portal was made pretty decently. It looks like it actually set up properly. So let's go ahead. Oh, I'm gonna close the Enfusion Tools. I'm gonna N. We can go to our wire view, and we can see that this portal is just a hair. Is it just a little too big? All right, let's bring that bottom piece up a little bit. So with that selected, go to edit mode. We're going to edge, select the bottom edge, G and then Z, and just bring it up a little bit. All right. What we want to make sure too is that it's, from what I understand, we want it to be within the BSP as well. So where is... Let's hide that. So is that within our BSP? Yeah, it looks like it. All right. So that door is good. So I'm gonna re-show our main. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna just to be in the habit, to the best of my knowledge, we want to be with that is showing that. So let's go to object mode and select our next portal, and it's going to be this one here. So with it selected, we can hit R to rotate it, Z axis, and it looks like on the top left corner we're rotating into the negative. So let's do -90. Hit enter, and we've now rotated it. So this portal, I don't know if this is going to be too big or if we need to shrink it at all. I've not fully messed around with that. It made it that big, but let's just make sure that it is inside the structure. And it is. All right. So it's still in the middle of the window, so that should be good. If we need to resize that, or if someone comments and says, no, your portal should actually be a bit smaller, then go back and resize this later on if needed. We're going to leave it how it is right now. If you need to resize it with it selected, go to Objects, Edit Mode, go into the wireframe view, go to Edge, select it, G and then Z, and then you would adjust it that way. Okay. I'm going to hit Escape so it doesn't save that move. Go back here, and I'm going to come over to this object here. In object mode, reselect it. It's got the box around it. If that doesn't got the box around it now, you are still in edit mode. So same idea. We're going to hit R, rotate on the Z axis, and we're going to rotate this positive 90 degrees. So just 90. All right. It looks like it's pretty well centered in that window. And we should not have to do anything with this. So go ahead and save. All right. We're getting close, guys. We are getting close. We aren't. Well, I'm going to have to cut some of this out, but we're roughly a little over an hour into this, looks like. All right. So I'm going to do kind of a internal check here. Excuse me. All right, that's there. These have the materials. All right, we got our collider, right? All right, I believe all that is set up is for our LODs. So what I'm gonna do is I'll make there's a couple ways to make LODs. LODs are I believe the abbreviation is for level of detail. So the farther away you are from something, the less detail you want it to render, so you're not using resources from the computer or from the system, I should say. So the farther away you want it to tell the game, the farther away it is, give it less detail. The closer you are, the more detail you want it to have. And obviously there's a progression, right? It's not just 0 to 500. It's going to progressively show more and more detail as you get closer. So the couple ways to do LODs, it's pretty easy for you to do manually yourself, but there's also an add-on. An add-on will pretty much do it for you by yourself. I'm sorry, do it for you so you don't have to do it by yourself. I'm going to show you the do-it-yourself way because it's pretty easy and it's a good way to know how to do it. So come up to scene collection, right-click, hit New Collection, find wherever it put it, hit F2, and we're just going to call these LODs. And you don't have to do this. You can name it whatever you want. We're going to choose our base structure. We're going to be in Layout, Object Mode, hold Shift, hit D to duplicate it, and right-click, and move that down to LODs. Now this is kind of like a backup save, right? This is a backup save of our main structure, because when we make these LODs and we want to change things later on, it may actually be easier to just delete the LODs and then reduplicate the base structure that you change. So we're going to turn this off, and we're going to go to the LOD, I'm sorry, the duplication that we had. We're going to F2 and name this. This is what is very important. It's going to, at the end of your name, it's underscore LOD 0. And we are going to apply another modifier to it. And it's going to be called a decimate. Generate decimate. What a decimate is going to do, it's going to automatically take your object for you, and it's going to make it less polygons and less shapes. So it's gonna take the item and make it use less resources the further away you are. From what I understand, LOD 0 is you want it to be the most clean version of what you have. So we're applying a decimate, but we're leaving its ratio at 1. And that is so that way when we duplicate this, it comes with the decimate feature to it. So follow along, Layout, Object Mode, select the item again, Shift D, right click, Shift D, right click, and we're going to give ourselves 3 LODs. I believe you can have up to, I think, 6 or 7. Some of the structures that are in ARMA, I believe, have, like this house has 5 because it starts at 0. So 0 through 4, that's a total of 5 LODs. Just for this purpose, we're doing just 3. And I'm just renaming these with F2, LOD 0, 1, 2. So this is your first LOD, your second, and your third. With LOD 1, every structure and every object you will do different ratios with. This is not perfect science. These are not perfect numbers. I am just ballparking and throwing a number out there so you see what it does. So LOD 1, we're going to go to its decimate, and we're going to change that to 0.8. Hit enter. Do not apply this. Go down to that, and we're going to change this to 0.5. All right. And again, we're not applying it. And just to show you, it's not going to do much with this item. See this yellow outline? This is a pretty square object, so there's not a lot to really decimate in it. But you can see how it's bringing some of these faces and some of these edges in. All right. So reshow those. I did forget with the collider, our UTM collider, we also want to decimate on that. I apologize, I forgot. And we want that to be pretty low. We want that to be like 0.2. All right. I don't know if that's going to be good. I may be wrong in this, but I don't know, the way it's making that shape, it's a little weird. Check in later on, or ask someone else, or maybe I can add it in the description. You do want to decimate on the collider, but notice how it's really making it weird. I don't know if that's going to make the building weird, and I don't want to do something wrong for the tutorial. So give it a decimate, leave it at 1. We can change. You can come back in here and change it later on if you want to. All right. So go ahead and save. So we have our LODs. They have their decimates on them. Again, we're not applying those because when we export, it'll automatically apply those. We have our sockets. That's all good there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe we are ready for a export. We're going to save. So all right. So I may have forgot to mention earlier, when you are working in Blender and you're doing stuff with Enfusion, it's probably best to have the workbench open because it is required to have the workbench open to use the Enfusion tools while you're doing it. So if you're just making the object, you don't need Blender, I'm sorry, the workbench open. But if you're going to be doing workbench related stuff in Blender, you have to have it open. So in your project that you have, let's see, I've gotten all the space here taken. So I'm actually going to backtrack for a second. So I am using the Reforger's Scenario Framework empty world. And the reason I'm doing that is because it has all of the basic stuff that you need, like managers and stuff like that, for testing stuff out. There is, where is it at? There's a manager in here that if you're going to test this in your world, you need to have, Man, I cannot think of what it's called. I apologize. I was going to try to show you. I will try to leave it in the comments. I'm sorry, the description if I can. But when you go to test your structure out to make sure it sounds proper in the structure, you want to make sure you're using a world that is also set up properly. If your world's not set up properly, then the building's not going to work properly. So let me go back to the world I've been using. And you're going to want a folder, because you can export directly into your project, and it's the best way to troubleshoot that if something you just did fixed an issue that you have or not. So some people will be a little bit more organized in their project folders than what I am right now, but I just have a project that's called Test 3D Models, the folder, and this is the different stuff that I test. So within this, I'm going to have my main project folder, custom objects. I'm going to make a new folder called, just so I can find it, ZZ_YouTube house tutorial. Right? So we're going to have that there. We go back to our main workbench. It should also be there as well. As long as it's not hidden by this thing, which it is, of course. Yeah, it's still hidden there. All right. So, you know what? Let me rename it. That's going to bug me. There we go. All right. So go ahead and save. Go back into Blender. And now we are going to export. So our booleans are unchecked, so we're not exporting those. We don't need to. Our initial base structure is going to be unchecked because that is our backup, because we've applied other things to it now. So if we ever need to go back to it, we have a backup save. So we are not exporting that. We are going to export our BOXVOL, our BSP, the portals, the collider, all of our LODs. Right? Those are all in there. Why are they not in there? That's fine. There we go. Didn't need to do that, but just keep it organized. Our LODs and our sockets. So what we can do is click on our box volume. Go down to our sockets. So all that is selected. Go and save. And then we're going to go to export and FBX. It has to be, excuse me, an FBX. So navigate to your project folder. For me, I have this somewhere different than what you're going to have, but essentially what you're looking for is, you know what, I'm going to show you. You're going to be looking for the ARMA Reforger Workbench, add-ons, and then your project folder. All right. Do not go into ARMA Reforger and then directly into add-ons. That is not where you want to put this. You want to put this in your project folder. So for me, I'm going to go into mine. And then whatever you want to name it that. And this is where it gets to be important on what we're doing. So we're going to do selected objects. Click empty, hold shift. Click armature, mesh, other, let go of shift, hit custom properties. Go to geometry, make sure apply modifiers is on. Go to armature, turn off leaf bones, and then turn off animation. So we're going to go through it again real quick, make sure it's good, selected objects. All right. What I would recommend is either take a screenshot of this, so this way you can visualize everything you need, but there's also a way to add a preset. So if you hit the plus symbol and type in a preset name, so I'm going to do this ARMA YouTube 2 because I already have one, and hit OK, you now have a preset to where You can come in, you go to export, click the preset, bam, there you go. So before we hit export, we have our workbench open, and then we are going to export into that folder. So just to show you, there is our folder. There is where we're exporting to, and we're going to go ahead and click export. Should only take a matter of a few seconds. And you now see there's an object here. If this is the first time that you export the object directly into the project, meaning this item's never been here before, you are going to right click and then hit register and import and do as model. And it should pop up over here. It's doing something. You should also see some stuff happening over here. I just realized I did not touch on UV painting and textures. Because again, my focus on this was not UV, it was not textures, it was not any of that. But look at the description of this video and I'm going to explain something brief with UV. So I don't fully understand UV painting. I'm still learning that part of this. But I just remembered I forgot about that. And the reason I mentioned that is because when you apply the UV painting, the UV mapping, and you apply a texture material, even though it's blank, it brings up a different material here. And I forgot to do that. So that'll have to be covered in a different video. So back on track with what we're doing. If we open up our .xob, we will see that we have, there's a default material for some reason. I'm not sure what made that. We have our LODs, right? We have our collider. Bones. Oh, you know what? That'll be made in a minute, I believe. So let's go to import settings. We are going to want to generate a BSP. And then we are going to export scene hierarchy. So we make the bones that I was just looking for. We're not going to mess with these. These are troubleshooting stuff, I believe. I don't want to mess with those right now because you don't want those selected when you have your official object released. So I'm not going to be worrying about those right now. So we're going to change our BOXVOL lerp to 2. I don't fully understand why. Someone taught me that yesterday. I'm just rolling with it. We're not doing anything in there. If this got changed to something else, change this back to build in FireView. Some people have issues where it changes it on them. And then let's go to Window and Log Console. This is going to be very important. This is how we're going to know if we did this right or not. So with the Log Console open, clear it, make sure we see everything. Okay, hit Reimport. And we have no errors. So that is hopefully a good sign. If you see it say the BSP did not create, you have a problem. You need to go back and make sure that your BSP is proper. Meaning there's no issues with the edges, the vertices. I had an issue when I was making a different building. It said my edges were not set up properly. So I actually had to physically delete edges and remake edges and stuff like that. And then I got it to work properly. But that was on a more complex build. So if it says it's leaking, I don't know the proper fix for it leaking yet. It's pretty much all or nothing. Either I've had it work completely or I've had it completely not work at all. So for this purpose, we don't see any errors. So we can click off the log error. The log console. Go back to details, and we should now see our bones. And we should see a couple extra materials, which is our mat door and mat windows. Go ahead and save. You can go and close that for right now. Let's go back to our world. And this is where we get down and dirty with making the actual structure. So there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to show you the initial very basic way. You're going to click and drag your XOB. And where did it put the door? I put the door here. All right, I'm just trying to get it to where I can walk in easily. Okay. Now, if I were to try to walk into this building right now, it would not have any collision. It's not set up properly. So how we set up collision, we are going to first change this class to a destructible building. Even if you are not intended on your building being able to be destroyed, from what I understand, you still need it to be this type of class. That way it registers sound properly. We are now going to add, because I misspoke initially, our collision through rigid body. So you're right-clicking, add component, and look for rigid body. Scroll all the way down. You're going to click model geometry, static. Go ahead and save. And let's see if we get lucky with this working properly first. So there's our doorway. It's a little bit tall. That's all right. There's our window. Looks about the right height. Okay. Now let's see if sound works. Nope. It continues its outside echo, right? We're outside. And we're inside. Okay. So we have a couple more things to do then. We need to add a couple more items. Now what we can do is we can reference another building. So it has a mesh object. Or I'm sorry, we'll start with the class. Its class is the same. It has a mesh object. But we need to set up its portals, which we'll do here in a second. It has a rigid body. It does not have a destructible component, so let's add that. Oh, not sure why that happened. Add component. What is this one called? Destructible building component. Let's just turn that off. And then world subscene. There's an easier way to do this, but I'm showing you the hard way so you know it's there. RPL. And hierarchy. And you'll just want to go through and make sure that these have the same settings, except the pivot ID. I don't think we need a copy of the pivot ID. Excuse me, grab a drink of water. So let's see if that fixed it, which I don't believe it did. Oh, there we go. All right, you hear the difference? I also want to make sure it is taking in the bullet holes, make sure it's showing that, which it is. We can collide with it. All right. There we go. So, there's still a couple more things to do. If the gunshots didn't sound proper to you, this next step may actually fix it. With the portal door, click on its open file. We're going to change its class to be a MatLightPortal. Click on its projection map, type in door. Go to save, go and close it out. Go back to your scene here and go to window. Change the window. And then I'm not sure, is there maybe, so we did what, 130 by 142? Maybe the 130 one, I guess? I don't know. Let's see. I still haven't figured that part out yet. Save it, close it, go back to your world, and Shift R to reload. We should see those look different now. Yep. All right. So now how we take this and make it into a prefab. I'm sorry, let me say this real quick. If you did do textures, right, this is where you apply your textures. There is a lot more to go over when it comes to texturing an item and setting up the MLOD, the different textures, UV mapping, what do they call it, the RGB masks, the VFX mask. There's all kinds of stuff. Not getting in depth on that. This video is already long enough, and I don't know that much about that stuff yet. To be quite honest, I know very little. So to take what you have here and now turn it into a prefab, click and drag the item you dropped over here, name it. So we're just going to name this basic ARMA Cube 01 test. Name it whatever you want to name it. You can now delete that, and then you can place this again. And now we're going to add a couple items to, or a couple pieces to this item that we need to add. So go ahead and double click it. I'm going to edit prefab, and let me get used to my ARMA controls again. Where's the door? There it is. All right. When we're dragging items into our prefab, we want to not rotate them until they are actually a child of the parent. I'm going to show you what I mean there. So look for environmental probe. I think it's base. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. It is probe house base. If you click and drag it into here, it immediately becomes a parent of the child. If it doesn't show on the hierarchy list as a child of the parent, do not rotate it. Only rotate it when you have it in this. Otherwise, it'll give you some serious problems. So let's move this to center. Doesn't have to be exact right now. I'm going to show you something real quick. Back in Blender, if you choose a couple portals and you do generate portal volumes, it'll make your portals behave just a little bit different. We're not doing that. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I do want to show you that. It'll actually put this probe, I believe, in a more appropriate position, but this just gets the job done for right now. Okay, go and save. Look up, what was it called? Furniture base. I believe that's it. Let's go and click and drag that in. and it gives you why did the lighting change? Let's go and save. Shift R. Oh, that doesn't reload it. That's interesting. Okay, that's just because it's not selected anymore. All right, sorry. So if you want to add, like, let's say a couch, sofa. You would move it into that. Not sure why things are looking a little weird. This is really the first time I did this, to be quite honest. But you would add all your furniture and inside decorations to that, to the best of my knowledge. Hopefully this looks better when it's in the game. All right, so what was that window I was looking for earlier? Wind Farm 130. Wind Farm 130. All right, click and drag that in there. And then that's going to be the outside. All right. And then let's shift that. All right. And then I'm going to reopen my project so I can go find that door that has. And then that. So this is called door set village E01LXTB. All right. What was I doing? Oh, I was editing this. So I need to save, close. Is this what I was working on? Yes, it was. Wow. All right. So let's drag that in. Drag this outwards. Right. Not too shabby, not too shabby. All right, it's should be fine. We're not trying to be perfect here. Where did that window go? Farmhouse. Ah, I see what happened. Okay, so good lesson here. I'm dragging and duplicating this. Notice how it's not a child anymore. The original is, but the new is not a child. Bring it into the parent again. Now we can rotate. You will regret it if you rotate something when it's not a child. It does bad things sometimes. All right. So this should be good. Go and hit exit out. Hit save. Exit that. Go back to your world editor. And what we did should be applied. And let's see. All right, it opens. All right, our walls are not as thick as they probably should be, but that's fine. Not a big deal. Or we could also even maybe adjust those windows out a little bit. Still sounds good in here. All right. All right. So what you can even do sometimes is take. It's not going to look pretty, so you don't got to follow this. You can take another structure's material and apply it to. Look at that. To your house. So the reason this happened is because we didn't properly UV map or apply textures to the object before we exported it. That was not my intent in this video, was to go over any of that. So this is actually just kind of funny, kind of cool too, little way it looks. But this is not simple, but it's also not the most difficult thing ever created. It's a lot easier, hopefully, now that you've seen this, to get a general idea on what needs done. If you have issues, dang it! So I keep it mixing up the different programs and the way to do things. So, what was I going to say? Oh, the windows, the wall width not being proper. Unfortunately, what we would need to do is you would be deleting these LODs. You would need to delete your collider. You would probably need to move the BOXVOL walls in a little bit more. And your BSP would probably need to be adjusted slightly as well. And again, you would probably just be selecting the faces and moving the faces as you need to, or even the edges for that matter, but the face grabs all the edges around it. So this, again, was very basic. You could probably stop here and hopefully have achieved what you wanted out of this. I'm going to show you back to what I've been working on. And actually, real quick, I'm going to upload this project, excuse me, to my GitHub, so that way you can download this and maybe reverse engineer this a little bit if you need to. I'm also going to do that with the other house I'm going to show you here in a second. So this way you can see how there's a little bit of a difference in it. And the main difference is, excuse me, what I showed you earlier. No, actually, I'm sorry, hold on. I don't want to see BOXVOL right now. I don't want to see BSP right now. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. All right. So this is just the structure here. I am not sponsoring this program at all. The only reason I'm even mentioning, or I'm sorry, this add-on. The only reason I'm even mentioning this add-on is because that's what I've used to make this basic structure. The add-on's called ArchiMesh. It costs money. You do have to pay for it. I think there's a free version that gives you a bit more limited options. I'm not even suggesting you buy this. For me, it was about $50 US. It's a chunk of money. I don't, like I said, I'm not endorsing it. I'm not promoting it. I am simply telling you how I used it, or that I used it, and I got this structure out of it. Look into it. There are different ones. There's also Home Builder. I didn't learn as quickly with Home Builder as I did with ArchiMesh, which is why I ultimately went with that one. Did I call it right? I'm sorry, ArchiPack. Where'd he go? Great, there we go. ArchiMesh and ArchiPack, I think, are the two different versions of it. So it's pretty nifty, but what I will say is that it does make putting the structures together a little bit more complex. I'm going to show you why. There's all of this extra stuff that it makes. So I'm a little bit more familiar with Blender lately to where I feel comfortable using this stuff. There are other add-ons out there that you could probably use with it. This is just where I'm at. So, excuse me. I will also upload this project when I get done with it so you can see the little bit of difference. The little bit of difference is the BOXVOL. I'm not in the right thing. That's why it's not working. Again, it's just a box. Okay. The BSP, where's that at? It's a box, but I got these booleans applied to it. Now, if I had another room inside here, right? Let's just say I had another room. It would change things up a little bit with the BSP and the volume. There, again, to the best of my knowledge, the box volume would kind of go outside the shape, and then there'd be a new one that covers the inside of this shape. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and I hope I'm right when I tell you that. So when I get a little bit more comfortable with this being a good tutorial one, I will upload that as well, which maybe in the next few days we'll see. All right. At this point, I have rambled a ton, and I think I've covered everything I want to cover. Again, check the description for anything extra that I want to add. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. If I did something wrong, or I'm sorry, if I explained something wrong, or if you can explain it a little bit better, please participate in helping. This is one of the things that really I struggled with. This took me about 3 weeks, maybe longer, to actually figure this very basic structure out. So, hope have a good rest of your day. I am rambling at this point. All right, I knew I forgot something. What I wanted to show you was how you can take a vanilla item that you want to bring in an item that is similar to it, right? So you've got a vanilla house here. This is the house mountain base. It has no furniture in it and no probe in it. And all we're looking for is we are going to be using it so we don't have to make these items. So what you can do is with the item in the hierarchy list, and I apologize that it's hidden behind this advertisement here, go to its mesh object and then scroll up to where you see what XOB file it uses. Find your XOB. So the XOB, not the ET. All right, the XOB, click and drag it to the XOB file here. And you should see it in here. If you have material set up properly, the MLOD set up properly, stuff like that, it'll bring all that over too, or it should. All right. So go and save. And now what you can do is click and drag this over here. Basic ARMA cube duplicated, we'll call it. It's just for the purposes of the tutorial. And if we bring it down, and we bring it here, okay, it works. So all we need to do now is open up the prefab, bring in its probe, why did that not work? Okay, so you can bring it in the viewport, make it a child before you do anything with it. All right, get in that habit. If you drag something in the viewport, make it a child. Do not mess with it before you make it a child of the parent over here. All right. So let's bring that in. There's probably a much easier way to do this, but for some reason, you know what? I know why we can do. There we go. There we go. All I did was undid its coordinates, so that way it went back to zeros. There's probably more settings in here we need to change, but I don't know those right now. So there's that. And then you can add your house base furniture or base furniture. See, that worked. I don't know why the other one didn't. And then sofa. I just realized that on the other one, the sofa was not there. I'm a little upset about that. I really wanted that sofa in there. All right, save it. Oh, we would have to re-add our windows and all that, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to waste our time on that. That open, and then oh, it's still going off of that, so we need to re-add our house, our version of that now. There we go. All right. So that should be that.